Artificial intelligence is often framed as a technology story. Better algorithms, smarter robots, more automation. From this vantage, AI looks like a product, something engineers build and businesses adopt. But that perspective misses the deeper mechanism. AI is a governance technology that reshapes the institutional boundaries of labor markets, inequality, productivity, and national economic strategy. The International Monetary Fund's recent staff discussion note on AI and the future of work lays out this structural story in detail. AI's impact is not uniform. It is systemic. At the global level, roughly 40% of jobs are exposed to AI, but exposure is not the same as displacement. Exposure means the tasks within a job overlap with AI capabilities. The effect of AI on employment depends on whether it complements human labor or substitutes for it. Advanced economies are more exposed because a larger share of work is cognitive and analytical tasks where AI can substitute or augment human effort. Understanding this distinction is crucial. AI substitution means machines do work humans previously did. Complementarity means humans and machines work together, with AI boosting worker productivity. These two forces can operate simultaneously in the same economy. For example, generative AI might replace some routine analytical work while enhancing the productivity of high-skilled professionals. This duality is why AI is not simply a productivity tool that makes everything better. It restructures labor markets. In advanced economies, about 60% of employment is in AI-exposed jobs. But exposure alone doesn't determine outcomes. The potential for complementarity does. Some high-income jobs are highly exposed but also highly complementary, meaning AI augments the human contribution rather than replacing it. Contrast this with emerging and developing economies. In many of these countries, the share of AI-exposed employment is lower, not because tasks are inherently safer, but because digital and cognitive tasks make up a smaller portion of economic activity. This reduces immediate displacement risk, but also limits the capacity to capture AI's productivity gains. This structural divide can widen global inequality. Economies with high cognitive task shares and the institutional capacity to integrate AI into production stand to gain more in overall growth and productivity. Economies without those conditions risk lagging. Public policy must respond accordingly. Inside countries, the impact also varies across worker groups. College-educated workers tend to have a greater capacity to reallocate into jobs that complement AI. They move into roles where AI augments higher-value tasks. Older workers and workers without advanced skills face higher displacement risk because reallocation requires training, mobility, and institutional support that is often lacking. Structural inequality shows up in two channels. First, AI exposure patterns correlate with income. Jobs that are highly exposed but complementary are often held by higher-income workers. If those workers benefit disproportionately from AI, labor-income inequality will widen. Second, capital owners, those who own the tools and platforms that harness AI, gain larger returns, increasing wealth inequality. This is institutionally significant. Technology itself does not determine outcomes. The rules that govern technology, adoption, labor market mobility, retraining systems, social safety nets, and corporate governance shape who benefits and who loses. For example, consider worker reallocation. AI does displace tasks, but displacement does not imply permanent job loss. Workers historically move across occupations with new technologies. The speed and difficulty of this transition depend on institutional readiness, education systems, retraining programs, labor mobility frameworks, and social insurance mechanisms. If institutions lag, displacement becomes permanent unemployment. If they adapt, labor reallocation can accompany net gains in productivity and income. Now consider productivity. AI has the potential to boost productivity, a force that can raise growth, wages, and overall income. But its contribution depends on how firms adopt and integrate AI into production processes. Productivity gains are not automatic. They require organizational change, capital investment, and worker upskilling. Productivity gains can also reshape corporate structure. Firms that successfully integrate AI can scale more rapidly, dominate market niches, and reshape competition. Smaller firms or those in sectors with less AI complementarity may see stagnation. This can concentrate economic power, reduce competition, and reshape industrial organization. In this sense, AI is not just a technology. It is a force that interacts with corporate governance, labor institutions, and regulatory frameworks. The winners are not simply those with better technology. They are those whose institutions and policies align incentives to capture productivity gains while managing transition risks. This leads us to inequality. AI can amplify income disparities. In the IMF's modeling, if AI strongly complements high-income labor, labor-income inequality can increase. At the same time, returns to capital, especially to owners of AI-enabled firms and data infrastructure, can grow faster than labor income. Combined, these forces can widen wealth inequality unless mitigated through policy. Institutional responses matter. Countries that invest in digital infrastructure, education, and retraining systems will fare better. They can convert AI exposure into AI complementarity. They can shift workers from displacing occupations into expanding ones. They can leverage AI for productivity gains that benefit broader segments of society. This is why policymakers must think beyond technology adoption metrics. They must design regulatory frameworks that incentivize inclusive growth, safeguard competition, and ensure social protections for those displaced or disadvantaged in the AI transition. Some economies are better prepared than others. The IMF report constructs an AI preparedness index that highlights readiness gaps. Advanced economies, with established digital infrastructure and institutions, are better placed to integrate AI productively and protect displaced workers. Emerging market economies have more ground to cover both in infrastructure and in labor market resilience. The report also stresses the importance of governance. Regulatory frameworks from data privacy and competition policy to labor law and social insurance shape how AI integrates into markets. Effective governance can mitigate downside risks and harness AI's productivity potential. In sum, AI's economic effect is not deterministic. It depends on institutional design. Technology amplifies underlying structural conditions, including labor market flexibility, educational systems, social safety nets, and corporate governance standards. AI is not the future of work. It is the future of institutional design. Understanding the implications of AI requires analyzing not just what it can do, but how systems allocate rights, responsibilities, incentives, and protections in the face of technological change. The IMF's report reminds us that the future of work is not written in silicon. It is written in policy, in contracts, in social norms, and in the way markets are governed. This is where the real story of AI's impact lies, not in the algorithms themselves, but in the institutional choices societies make. For continued institutional analysis of how technology, governance, and labor markets interact, subscribe.